Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo, Meghan, AJ, Jesse coming at you live today. We're going to get into some of the Avs players at each of their positions. Should be an interesting one, especially a couple of them. I'm curious to see exactly where things shake out. But before we get into that, we're starting to get a little bit deeper into a day with the cups for the Avs. We've seen it go to Czechia. We've seen it go to Sweden. We saw Jack Johnson baptize his children in the thing. There's been some pretty interesting stuff there. And Jesse, I know you had some ideas about what you would do if you had a day with the cup.
What's actually disappointing is I was hoping you guys would have some good ideas because I don't know. I was asked this question and I was like, damn, I don't know. That's a great question. What would you do with the cup for a day? I would eat some pasta out of it. I'd make some pasta at home or have someone make it for me if I'm eating out of the cup. But I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah. Sorry, all the alleged nasty things that people have done inside that bowl, I'm not doing it. I know it's been cleaned. I understand. I'm not doing it. I'm just not.
It's clean, though.
In the hypothetical, am I a Stanley Cup winning hockey player, or am I?
Yeah. No, you won it. It's yours. Yeah.
Okay. I could probably make some allowances then, drinking out of it if I actually won. I'd bring it to Puerto Rico and I'd drink pina coladas out of it with my grandma.
Great answer.
If I were to guess, I would say it's probably never been to Puerto Rico.
That's what I'm saying. I think it needs to see the island.
There you
go. Go somewhere it's never been taken before.
That's now officially my answer. See, look, I knew it. I knew I would get something good. That's my answer. I'd take it somewhere it's never been before.
That's
cool.
a good idea.
I'm taking it to the DNVR bar then.
I thought you were saying I'm taking it to the DMV. I was like, I mean, yeah, it's
wait in line with the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, go live in Broomfield. The DMV doesn't have lines. We learned that yesterday.
Actually, ours has been really good too lately with all the now you have to sign up for an appointment and all that.
Yeah.
Still not taking the cup there.
I mean, it'd be pretty funny, man. Like, start the day, like, 9 a.m. You just, like, will roll on in, like, okay. Like, waiting to get my name changed or whatever you're there for. And you're just like, oh, well, got to Stanley Cup with me.
Just out running casual errands.
Yeah. That might be my answer. Like, I might, like, go get my oil changed and, like,
just
take it to Walmart.
Physical. Yeah, just like the most intentionally mundane.
Exactly.
That's fucking great.
Set up a day full of the absolute most mundane things imaginable. Eric Johnson's EJ's gonna take his to the DMV and get his name changed to Eric Stanley Cup Champion Johnson.
Yeah. Just like, this is my errand day, so I thought I'd spice it up a little bit by taking the cup with me. Rudo, would you drink out of it? Am I the weirdo here?
I would absolutely drink out of it.
Oh, I would drink out of it too. I'm not eating food out of it though.
What's the difference?
No.
I'm drawing a line. That's the difference.
What? Whose kid like shit in it?
I think there's been kids that have pooped in it. I think there's
Chris Draper's.
In it.
Yeah, it was Draper's. Yeah. So. But look, they have like a professional team of people that take care of it, so I assume it's spotless for everybody. Like, and
isn't like what it's made out of isn't antibacterial? It's silver, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure silver is like antibacterial.
The bowl is definitely silver. So
yeah. Side note on Chris Draper, did you guys all watch Unrivaled?
No,
I've avoided it.
What? Why?
I'm waiting until I need my hockey fix over the summer, and that'll be the perfect response.
All right. Well, once you guys have watched it, let's circle back to Chris Draper.
That'll be a great pod. It'll be a great pod this offseason.
You're like August 28th pod.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a Monday. I don't actually know.
If you're right about it, you really do.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's 2 days in a row where you just nailed the day of the week on a random date.
I have no idea what day of the week that is. I'm just kidding. No, that'll be a great one. That would be a great pod.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like, could you take it to, like, the bottom of the Marianas Trench or something?
Oh, I like this.
Maybe send it to space.
That'd be cool.
How coordinated do you have to get?
Right. How far ahead do I need to plan this?
Yeah, like, can you put it on Jeff Bezos' penis rocket and send it to space?
Right. Just for, like, a quick little trip.
Yeah. Why not?
Stanley Cup, like, just the tip space.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Just break the atmosphere.
Yep. Just technically.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was because it is interesting. Because, like, I feel like there's pressure to do something cool with it.
Yeah.
When you have it.
That might be my biggest catalyst to not wanting to do anything cool with it and do, like, the most boring day in the world. Because that could be the most memorable. Like, that could be the thing where they're like, okay, well, AJ woke up today and went to the DNVR, and then he went shopping.
You think that's crazy?
Yeah,
AJ Haefelele took it to the DMV.
Yeah, and then he went shopping for swim trunks, and then like whatever, like whatever.
On the side of I-70, pretend to change a tire for like 3 hours, hanging out on the side of I-70.
Yeah, like whatever, Oh yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere it's never been, or just something completely routine.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
These are all good answers. I like our collective approach here.
Yeah.
None of us are like, let's just take it back home. I guess Meghan wants to go to Puerto Rico with it, so.
Yeah.
I'm not taking it to Texas. Sorry.
I also said that, like, I'd maybe go do like a drop in at, like, the rink that I grew up playing in.
I'd love that.
Bring it out to, like, the scorekeeper's box or something like that. I don't know.
You know what would be cool? Climbing one of the 14ers and then taking a picture with it at the top would be kind of neat.
Yeah, but
Philip Pritchard has to carry it all the way up.
That's right, he does.
If they have to do it, I'm fine, but I'm not carrying it up there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm doing the hike and they're doing the lifting, and then at the top, I'm taking the picture.
I'm meeting you up there with it. That is where my day with the Cup starts.
That's right. He's like, okay, we're only doing Pikes Peak so I can drive.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Thought that was
okay.
fun.
Tiniest bit of Avs news today. Their goaltender prospect, even Ivan Zigalov, is going to go play in the OHL this coming season.
He signed with Kingston after playing last year in the Q. So,
which is a team that won't be as good as they were last season, assuming
neat
right plays in the NHL, which he will. So,
you think so?
I think so.
I think he's a lock. I could see Seattle being like, let's take one more crack at being bad.
I think they can do that with him on the team.
Yeah, signing an ELC doesn't mean anything. Guys sign ELCs all the time.
That only matters for NCAA.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was like,
Philadelphia had that kid that they signed like the day after the draft a couple of years ago. They signed their 4th round pick to an ELC. Literally, like a day after the draft, and it was like, what was like, what? Why was the hurry here?
Had to have him.
Yeah,
so lined.
It was just odd. Yeah, Zaid Wisdom, great name.
Another front.
Yeah, oddly enough.
That's how it works sometimes. So that's your Avs news of the day. Is a prospect did a little bit of something. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if there's any hockey on the front in the future. The World Juniors is probably still happening.
It's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, I don't know how they would cancel it, but obviously there's a lot of not great things surrounding that at the moment.
Yeah. So
that's not great. But
I was gonna say, what happens if you end up with a WJCs with no Canada, no Russia?
Well, there are consequences to action, so.
I'm just saying it'd be crazy. I mean, Finland wins every year at the WJCs now anyways, so it doesn't matter. But
isn't it like every other year? They have like they go first place, and then the next year they're in like sixth or something.
Yeah, no medal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, but I think they get the technicality because technically this is the second World Juniors since they last won. So
count it.
This is the second time the tournament has started.
They did play at least like a quarter of that other World Juniors.
Yeah.
Did they even play that much of it? It was like they got like a game or two into it, and they were like, whoa.
Yeah. I know teams, like there were some teams that played like 3 games. There were some teams that had only played like a game.
Yeah, it was a little all over the place. But also, you only play like 8 games.
Yeah.
Total, yeah.
So, I don't know. Does it count? Does it not? Chat will know.
Chat will certainly make up its mind.
Anyway, our main topic of the day is going to be ranking the Avs' best players at each position loosely. We'll see what we do exactly with the wings and such. But some conversation around this has been out there a little bit. People were comparing Mackinnon and Crosby. Puck Empire released their top 100 current skaters in the league, which you can see right here. Some interesting takes on that list for sure. I know we'll be diving into it quite a bit. So if you haven't seen it, you can go look up Puck Empire's top 100 skaters.
Was there anything about that list that immediately grabbed you where you were like, oh?
The very first thing I noticed about it was Roman Jossi's outside the top 20.
Okay.
Which I just don't know how you justify.
Mine was Rupe Hintz being one spot behind Joe Pavelski. I was like, somebody went all in on Rupe Hintz.
Can we pause on Roman Josi for a second?
Yep.
So I was talking about him the other day. So where are you guys on him? You think that 20 in the league is too low?
Yeah, I would put him, and I know some people will disagree with this, but I would put him ahead of Hedman right now, today, ahead of Hedman. The course of their careers, Hedman's better. Today, I'm putting him ahead of Hedman.
So if you had to pick one of them for your team, you'd take Josi over Victor Hedman?
If I'm taking the player they are today, yes. If I'm taking their whole careers, no, I'm taking Hedman.
The most side of it was man. Yeah. So, because I was actually going to say, for me, Josi at 20 is maybe like a little high, but like I don't think that's that far off for who I think he is.
Can you pull that list back up?
Yep.
We're going to want to look at this a few times, I think, since we're going to use it as a jumping off point.
Just leave it up the rest of the show. We'll stay in the side panel.
Let me make it bigger. Oh, that's too big.
Whoa.
Look at that. Rupe Hintz at 42. My goodness.
All right. I guess this is what you get.
While Rudo's trying to resize this, that sound AJ made, I'm pulling a bunch of my bloopers and outtakes from morning skate updates this year. So I'm going to be pushing that out here in a couple days. There's some funny ones in there.
Yeah, I think Roman Josi at 21 there feels pretty good.
So that's where I'm at, like 17 to 20.
I'd be fine at like 17, yeah, but I think he deserves to be in the top 20.
The thing is, there are only 3 defensemen in front of him.
Right.
Yeah, and he finished second in the Norris.
Yeah, so I don't think we're too far off here.
Yeah, sure. Right. It's not some absurdity, but that was just the first thing that jumped out to me.
Jabrincat at 27 is way too fucking high.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That is way. Jake Gensel at 29 is way too high. You're gonna take those guys over Aaron Ekblad? Are you for real right now?
Nope.
Yeah, big struggle there. Mark Stone at 36, I think, is probably too high.
Alex Ovechkin at 34 is just a little. It's weird to see him there.
Yeah.
Because even at his age, I mean, he's still a top 3, just pure goal scorer in the league.
It's generated by recency more than it is totality.
For sure. I mean, Brian Rust is on the list.
Yeah.
I will say Eriksson Ek being on the list, but Val Nichushkin not.
Yeah.
Was the thing. Because when I saw Eriksson Ek, I was like, oh, I wonder where Nuke is. Oh, he's not on there.
And then what's funny is, to the point of, this is based on, obviously recent, Seth Jones even being on this list, Erik Karlsson even being on this list.
Now we're just...
That's a tougher sell for me.
Right.
I'm not going to complain too much about the depth of it, because you get to like the 90th best player in the league, and you're like, this could be anybody. Like,
no, Rudo. All of these need to be taken seriously. We're going one by one here. Start the show over.
I will say it, and I saw Chad said this earlier. I think Seider ahead of Taves is insane.
Yeah, it's too soon for that.
Not that Seider isn't really good, but Taves was finished 11th in Norris voting this year.
Yeah, Devon Taves was a top pairing defenseman on a dominant Stanley Cup team.
Yeah.
Mo Seider was a top pairing defenseman on a who again? They're just not comparable. Their impacts are not comparable. Seider had a great year, but give me a break with that shit. And having him one spot behind Jacob Slavin, give me a break.
Yeah.
Seider is this is going all in on I like the young guy, the potential there.
Yep.
And projecting him to be better than he is.
Okay. Yeah. We are brought to you by Sexy Pizza. That one. You can go to sexy.pizza to get your pizza today. There's 5 different locations here in the Denver metro area. If you haven't checked these guys out, you got to get in on it. Caught my sneeze. We're good to go.
That was good.
Go to Sexy Pizza. Get whatever you want. Honestly, their pepperoni pizzas are absolutely delicious. If you're a simpleton like me, all about it. But you can also get some more fancy stuff. They're philanthropies, which have all sorts of crazy flavors. Like they have a white pizza with pesto. They have cream cheese and jalapeno. They have, I'm sure for you wild people out there, they have Hawaiian, which not about it, but if you're about it, go for it. You can get all that, and the philanthropies, a portion of every pie purchased goes to plans and things that are helping improving communities here in Colorado. So be sure to go out Sexy Pizza today and get yourself some straight up delicious pizza. Also brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. You can use code DNVR when you sign up with them to get amazing odds boosts every single day, including $1,000 of matched money when you first sign up. You do have to use that DNVR code to get that, but be sure to jump on it and have that opportunity in your back pocket. It's great fun to go bet on literally whatever you want at DraftKings, ranging from, sports that to sports that you've never even remotely heard of. So take all of it, get the opportunity, have some fun with it. Of course, age restrictions apply. See other conditions and check out all of the details here on your screen to make sure, you're doing everything legally. Of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. So I said we were going to do this by position, and we will for the most part, because I think that's the fairest way to do it for everyone but Cale Makar. Because Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the world, and you can't convince me otherwise. Is Cale Makar, or is there at least an argument for Cale Makar being the best player, full stop, in the world?
I think so.
Well, we have one maybe. AJ's thinking real hard
I was
about
just saying,
this.
I can't decide if that's thinking or if you're trying to figure out if the dog's going to go nuts or not.
He's asleep.
Because he's comfortable with the answer being yes.
I don't think he's there yet, but It's about I think it's probably about as close as it's ever going to get, and you could if you qualified it with arguably, I'd be good with it.
Yeah. He said, is there an argument to be made?
Yeah. Like I think you could, depending on how you value things, depending on whatever. Like I think you could walk away feeling comfortable with that take.
Okay, so 2 soft maybes, Megan.
Yeah, especially because you did frame it. Is there an argument to be made? Definitely, there's an argument to be made. It's a tough thing to predict the future, but that's more or less what we're being asked to do. There's an argument.
At least one of you is confident.
I think there's absolutely an argument to be made because I mean, my thing coming out of the playoffs, and we got to see these two guys go head to head, right? I just don't think there's anybody, even Connor McDavid, who impacts the game on both ends of the ice the way that Cale Makar was in this postseason. He's what, 22, 23? There's still so much for him there's so much room for him to grow. He's still probably not done physically maturing. And just the way that again, it wasn't just the points. It wasn't just the defensive. He controlled the ice. He controlled the game every time he was on the ice. Defensive zone, offensive zone, neutral zone. Didn't matter. Cale Makar was in control. And I don't know if there's any other player doing it to that level right now.
I think in comparison to McDavid, the defensive impacts of Makar are better. You would hope that they are. He's a defenseman. But I just don't think the offensive impact is even – I don't even know that it's particularly close to what McDavid is capable of right now. Because, I mean, we saw McDavid, went nuclear at times during the postseason. The guy finished with, 34 points in, 16 games or something? It was, holy shit, dude. He stepped it up at the end of that Kings series, and then they dusted Calgary. I don't know what Markstrom's deal was, but then I mean, he has a really, really good series against the Avs too. He has it's not his fault that Mike Smith sucks, man. Because he puts up, he scores the first goal in that game 30 seconds in. That's all they end up getting, right? That's it. But he's the guy that showed up the most on the Oilers.
For sure.
I just think we talk about Makar like he was transcendent in this postseason because he was.
Yep.
He was special. But McDavid was also really special in this postseason. And
for sure.
I think at their highest gears, Makar is just the impact offensively, defensively, it's higher. But I think that the offensive impact is higher for McDavid. And at their absolute best, I still think McDavid is better. But, I mean, the fact that Cale Makar is even in this conversation is a testament to how special of a player he already is. Because we're talking about Connor McDavid here. A guy who is going to retire a top 3 player all time. A guy who is, might be better than Sidney Crosby was during his prime. Crosby's obviously unbelievably special and has been a genuine treat to watch in his career. And all the people who wasted all the energy hating on him for years and years and years, that sucks. Because he's such a special talent. McDavid is the exact same class of player. You talk about a generational talent, and it's I don't even know if you call this guy generation. It's once every 25 years this kind of guy shows up. And so I would say even more
frequently than that.
And
now that I'm thinking about it, maybe not.
It's like Gretzky retires in 99 and Crosby shows up in 2005. 2015,
actually, maybe not, but
2015 McDavid shows up, so it's less often than that. But
I'm just trying really hard not to undersell these guys because you're so right. Dude, I stop all the time and think about Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid, now Makar, and even to a lesser extent, guys like McKinnon, Draisaitl, even Mikko Rantanen, whoa, how fun is it that we get these? This is our generation of players that superstars. Because obviously we've all seen, Gretzky highlights, Messier highlights, Yager, Lemieux. Like we've all watched that stuff. Bobby Orr, but we have to watch the highlights of it and be like, wow, yeah, that was really special. Yeah. Wow, that was really cool.
It's different to live it.
Guys night in and night out, and it's so awesome. And like you said, it sucks for the people that hate Alex Ovechkin and hate Sidney Crosby. It's like these are just all world once in a lifetime guys.
For direct comparison, Crosby's highest point season was 120 points in his second year. McDavid put up 123 this year as his career high so far.
And with Crosby, you obviously have the concussion issues so early in his career that robbed him of some of his prime.
Yep.
With McDavid, you also have the pandemic that robs him of his prime, a couple of seasons in his prime, and he's still. Do you have his numbers in front of him? The only year that he has not scored 100 points in his career was his rookie year when he had the hip injury and only played 40-some-odd games.
He had 97 in the COVID-shortened year.
The COVID-shortened year. Okay. My point here. Like, he's been a 100-point player his whole career except for the pandemic in his rookie year when he got hurt. It's pretty crazy. Like, I think we've almost become desensitized to his greatness because he also has Leon Draisaitl putting up crazy numbers right next to him, and as a team, they're not very good. They're the victim of management that, I saw there's a comment in chat saying, he hasn't won anything. All right, well, he hasn't had a chance to win anything international because that's been taken from him. He hasn't had a chance to really do anything in the NHL yet because he plays for an organization that is wildly incompetent.
That was true for Mackinnon for the long time.
Yeah, also fair.
Up until, 1 month exactly. 1 month ago, as of today. But, so a couple things, and they may sound a little contradictory, because I hate that argument that he hasn't won anything, especially for a guy, because what's McDavid, 24? 23?
He's 25.
He's 25, and
he is 25.
You say he hasn't won anything. He's won multiple MVPs.
And it's like winning a Stanley Cup is so hard, especially when you come in as a number 1 overall draft pick. Like, again, use Nathan MacKinnon as the example. He was drafted in 2012.
13,
son of a bitch. I'm off by 1 year on everything right now. He was
drafted
in 2013, and it took him 9 years to get the team to a point where they could win it all. It's not just them. It's not just how are they, developing as individuals. It's a process. When you're picking 1 overall, it's because you suck, and you have a long way to go. That's why you're picking 1 overall. So that I don't buy in on McDavid. Here's the one thing I'm going to say, a little bit of devil's advocate. So we're talking about him in comparison to a guy like Makar, Crosby. Are we sure that this isn't just kind of like a different version of Ovechkin where he's just so offensively gifted and he has such a big impact on the offensive side and the goal scoring, but maybe isn't as well-rounded a player as, say, a Sidney Crosby was? Because that, to me, kind of like Makar, was always my thing with Crosby. And even to this day, you just watch Crosby and you just control.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. If you're asking who the most well-rounded player in the NHL is, it's not McDavid. But his offense is to such a level that it doesn't matter.
Right. It makes up so much for anything where and it's not even that he's bad, but he's just not. Crosby is arguably elite defensively now in the later stages of his career. Right.
Just for reference, McDavid had better defensive impacts this year than Crosby did.
This year?
Interesting.
Yeah, this year. If you go into
his earlier years,
if you go into individual seasons, there's a lot of variance for both players. But Crosby has had elite defensive seasons, and this was the best season of McDavid's career defensively. Now McDavid is on the upswing. He's trended in the right direction several years in a row.
25, we'll get better.
So he's moving in the right direction in that area. And his offense is obviously, I mean,
well, and this is where this conversation becomes impossible, right? Because you're looking at aging curves and where people are currently in their career and what's left in it, and it's just so hard to judge.
That's right. I think that's why it's important to differentiate by position to some extent. Because I think that's why someone like Erik Karlsson is on this list, because growing up, he really was the it girl, and he's not really the it girl anymore.
Erik Karlsson was Cale Makar before Cale Makar was, and then his ankle exploded, and that was kind of that.
Yeah, and you just have to hope that the same thing doesn't happen to a Makar.
Yep.
And, at age 27, 28, because, we got robbed of a second half of Karlsson's career that would have had him as
one of the best ever.
And instead, we're looking at his career in a little more of a Terrell Davis-like light, where
insanely high peak, but ended quickly. Yep.
The peak was transcendent, but the injuries took away the second act.
Yep.
So that really sucks, man.
One last comment on Crosby here. To Megan's point, like, isn't that what part of what makes him so unbelievable is that even with all the aging curves in the later half of his 30s, obviously he's not anywhere close to McDavid, offensively stuff anymore. But the fact that he's like even still in that conversation at 30, whatever, where it's like, well, maybe he's still like the most dominant player in, whatever. It's unbelievable how good that guy is.
He turns 35 in 2 weeks, and we're still talking about this guy. He just had 84 points in 69 games.
Yep.
Like, tell him, Kirby.
Well, and like Ovi's season too. I know a lot of people are not super high on Ovechkin in the last couple of months with all the stuff that's happened outside of hockey, but like watching that guy on the ice it's unbelievable the way he's still scoring goals, has scored goals. Like, he's one of the few guys that
his backhand's still the best in the world. Like,
Crosby, absolutely, yeah. No, but I'm talking about Ovechkin and just the way he shoots the puck.
His one-timer is still the best in the world.
He's one of the only players where it's coming. It's coming. You game plan for it. You scheme. Your goalie coaches show you film, and they say it's coming. Here's when you need to start moving. Here's when you need to get ready, and you still can't stop it. That's how good he is. That's what an elite shooter he is. You know where it's coming from. You know when it's coming. Doesn't matter.
Yep, it's stuff like that truly proves how special some of these guys are. Very, very quickly, two more things I want to cover here. One, and I think this will be a pretty quick answer, is there anyone that can compete with Makar for the number 2 spot for best player in the world? Or is that pretty secured by Cale at this point?
I would say that the guy that I think you could talk yourself into competing for it would be a Matthews. But I've also been a much bigger Matthews fan than a lot of people for a long time. So
it's hard to deny him when he drops 60.
Yeah, but he's also he doesn't get as well known for it, but his defensive game is actually pretty good. And I'm not going to say that like he's going to win a Selke or anything, but I think it's pretty good. And I do think that
he's in that realm this year.
As he continues to get a little bit better, I think those are the 3 guys that I think have totally separated themselves. The other guys, McKinnon doesn't have, I don't think, the offensive peak as some of these other guys, which is a really weird thing to say. Draisaitl's defensive game is way too bad for me to put him in here. Kucherov is the one guy that I just don't know what to do with him. Because
every year.
At his absolute best, Kucherov is holy shit, right? Like, oh my God. Yeah. And then there are nights, like, we watched him in the final, that guy was really, really quiet in the Stanley Cup final for way too much of it. And that's, it's tough for the Lightning to win when he's that guy.
What's so terrifying about Kucherov is he's like his skill is so off the charts that like you're scared every time he touches the puck when you're playing against him because you just don't know what he's capable of. And like in one of those games where he's like, wow, Kucherov looks like shit, hasn't done anything. And then he grabs a puck and walks 3 guys and makes a no look behind the back pass to a wide open player back door. It's like, not bad.
Look at the play that he makes in game 1 of the Cup final. There's nothing going on. There's no flow in the game. He gets out into open ice one time, dances Devon Taves, and makes a perfect backhanded pass on the back door to Andre Palat.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, where the fuck did that come from? It wasn't like the guy had been pushing. It wasn't like the guy had been building towards it. It just dropped out of the sky like that. And that's where Kucherov, to me, is just like, I'm just...
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with him, man. I could put him... I could put him in the top 4, top 5, but then there are days, there are weeks where I'm just like, meh.
Well, it just goes to show how talented the top 10 of the NHL are.
Oh, dude.
That dude's peak is as high as anyone's, but if you can't do it consistently,
it's just that his lows. Like the one thing I'll say about Mackinnon is that even when he's not scoring, very rarely do you ever feel like that guy's not having an impact on a game. Like very, very rarely do you not look up and see, oh, that guy's got 5 shots on goal. You know, and he's controlling, he's doing things, he's pushing play. Kucherov was that. Kucherov is not that guy though. He's a little different in that I think he goes long stretches where he does kind of drift through games, and then he's a lightning bolt. And
well, he's always been a lightning bolt, technically.
McKinnon,
I'll murder you.
McKinnon, I think you're 100% spot on, AJ, because like there were people that looked at McKinnon for chunks of this postseason like, what's wrong with him? And this was maybe his best playoffs ever, just from a total impact perspective. And what I think is so interesting, because the Kucherov thing is so funny, because I've thought a lot about that. What type of player he is, especially in the last couple of months, right? And like it's funny when all of these guys are at, like, let's say you get their best game, all of them. I do think Kucherov is a top 4, maybe even a top 3 guy at 110%. But McKinnon, he's such an interesting player because I can't think of any other player that can play with the speed and finesse, but also the power that McKinnon when going at, like I said, 100, 110%. I've said now for years, I think when McKinnon's at his best, he is the perfect hybrid of Ovechkin and Crosby when he's at his absolute best. Where it's just he's got that heavy element, he can shoot, he can wire pucks, but he's got the playmaking and some of that heads up that Crosby has.
Yep. We're getting into McKinnon in just a second.
Oh, sorry.
Very, very quickly, and this can just be a yes or no answer if you don't have anything else to say about it. Is Devon Taves a top 10 defenseman in the league?
Yes.
Yes, obviously. Like,
yes. Okay.
I would say he's closer to the top 5 than he is to the 5 spot than he is to the 10 spot.
Fair. We are, of course, brought to you by FOCO. You can go to FOCO.com, FOCO.com, to get all of your Colorado sports team merch. And if you're a collector, they got bobbleheads. They got all sorts of limited time merchandise. So be sure to go check out that stuff. Obviously, they have championship stuff. Is probably the best gear you can get there. But you can get Broncos, you can get Nuggets, you can get Rockies, you can get CU even. All sorts of Colorado gear out there. They have a bunch of cool like pins and Crocs and all sorts of unusual things that you don't normally see available. And of course, all of their clothing is officially merchandised. So be sure to check out FOCO today. Go on over there, get yourself some dope gear. And Breckenridge Brewery is our official beer here at DNVR. You can find it at your local liquor store using the Breck Beer Locator online. Go to breckbrew.com, where you can also pick up a dope merch like Breck Brew hats and otherwise. If you've never been down to the farmhouse, they have not only an awesome venue to just go get a beer or see a show or things like that, their merch store at the farmhouse is impressive.
It's expensive.
They have quite a lot of stuff. So
That place is just so dope.
Yeah, it's super duper cool. Highly recommend you go check it out if you haven't yet. All right, third period, DNVR Avalanche podcast. We're getting into Mackinnon. Meghan, it looked like you were ready to go off about Mackinnon down there. So
it wasn't absolutely crazy, but we were talking about different ways to evaluate players, and one was by well-rounded. And I think that defensively he improved so much this season, and seeing him do blue-collar things in the playoffs seemed to be Nathan MacKinnon playing at his best. Seeing him unafraid to go to the corners and block shots. This helped the team defensively, especially when they needed it most. And so from a well-rounded perspective, he might not have an offensive lethal quality the way that Connor McDavid does. But I do think the well-rounded thing gives MacKinnon a little bit of an edge in this conversation.
So if we're putting an actual number on it, I would certainly think McKinnon's a top 5 center in the league. It sounds like certainly McDavid and probably Matthews ahead of him.
Because Matthews also kind of well-rounded too. So, and what the impact Matthews has had for Toronto, still important.
For me, I mean, McKinnon's probably my number 3 center. Probably. Obviously, again, you start factoring in guys like Crosby and how do you actually feel in this moment and all that stuff. But I just have such a hard time putting MacKinnon too far down that list because he's got the power element. He's got the speed. He's got the shot. Like, pick a tool. MacKinnon has it. And so, again, this just really underscores how elite this list is, because the fact that someone with all of those tools isn't number 1 is crazy. It's correct. But you know what again, my point is that's how good these guys are.
All right. So maybe not a whole lot of debate on MacKinnon, third best center. Just settling on it.
Can I throw a total loop into this?
Sure.
I never got to hear your guys' opinions. Now that the season's over and both teams won a cup, this team or 2001?
Oh, I did a whole thought on this.
No, I know. I missed it.
This team is better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought AJ really wasn't going to answer. I was like, are you seriously going to make me go listen to this whole pod to get your answer?
I mean, I'm still pretty torn on it if they played head-to-head. I don't know. I think it would be tough because of the Walkemper thing.
Yeah.
That's really what this defense, I think, is a lot better. No offense, Martin Skula, but I think Bowen Byram's going to be better.
I think the forward core is way deeper too.
It's and the question is are you counting the 2001 forward core with or without Forsberg?
Right.
Sure, that does make a significant difference.
Because if it's with Forsberg, man, I think it's real close. If it's without Forsberg, I'm taking 22 out.
I think it's real close at the top. Even with Forsberg, I think you get into the depth and the Avs depth.
Yeah, but you also can. This is also where eras are really important.
For sure.
Because fourth lines in that era were treated so differently than fourth lines are today. Fourth lines, Jeff Hodgers was on that for that guy scored a huge goal in that series. So, I'm just I don't know. I would take 22 with no Forsberg. With Forsberg, I probably lean 01. Because I think Waugh could make the difference there.
See, I'm with you, Rudo. I think even with Forsberg, the depth of this year's team was just, that was what won it for him, was the depth and the defensive depth. Everyone remembers the high end of that 01 team because holy shit. Just Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. But after that, like they were good, obviously. But yeah, the walk.
Yes, let's overlook 5 Hall of Famers in one line.
Right.
I mean,
this lineup could have a handful too.
There's pretty likely this lineup has at least 3.
I've got 4. So.
I think 4 is reasonable, but I would say 3 are looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, I've got 4 because I'm calling my shot with Byram.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's just so funny because I really do think that the only area where you're like clear advantage to the 0-1 team is in net.
That's the only thing that I felt was like very, very clearly. With Forsberg, the one thing that I'm like, and it's not to say that Darcy Kemper is bad, of course. It's just Patrick Waugh, homie.
Right. Maybe, in my opinion, the best that ever played.
Is for me.
Right. And even if it's not, like, if he's not in that conversation, you just don't like Patrick Waugh. Like, if he's not in your top 2 or 3,
I would say 3 because there are going to be people that want to bring up goaltenders that we never watched, and we're like,
yeah,
okay.
I'll give you 3, but if he's not in your top 3, you're just wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you have Brodeur ahead of him, you're just wrong. Mm-hmm. I refuse. Brodeur had a chance. He had that chance.
AJ knows how I feel about Dominic Hasek. We don't need to relitigate this.
All right. Very quickly, because Meghan tried to hide it in chat. I saw it. Couldn't sneak it by us. Is liking black licorice a bad food take?
Yes! Meghan. Meghan, don't tell me you like black licorice.
I do, and I don't like red licorice.
What? What?
It tastes like what I think a PVC pipe would probably taste like with strawberry.
And yet you like black licorice.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience. It's kind of herbal.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah.
Do you like Jaeger?
No.
I do. I hate black licorice, but I do like Jaeger.
Same.
Interesting.
My old roommate used to just keep a bottle of Jaeger in the freezer, and every now and then when he was going through a tough day, just pull it out of the freezer and take a pull. Woof.
Just send it.
That was my early 20s.
See, I do not fuck with Jaeger.
We got a super chat here from Kyle. Said, missed it live yesterday. Congrats on sealing the deal, my dude. Oh. May it only get better from here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let me ask you guys what you want to do with the wing position. Do you want to separate it into left and right wings, or do you just want to do wingers as like a total group?
I'd prefer to separate in the left and right, and there's more. A guy that does both gets bonus points for doing both because it's hard to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Bonus points because he's doing both.
Yep, exactly. Because if a guy's only playing on the one side, and then he switches over to another side, no, he's not very good, and then he goes back to that one side and he's dope again. There are guys like that. We see it all the time. Not everybody can just do everything.
So with that knowledge in hand, what are you doing with Mikko Rantanen, who played a weird amount of center this year?
He's still a right wing.
Center this year.
Okay.
That's next year's conversation. Can Mikko Rantanen be a top 10 center next year? Next year's it's probably tomorrow's spot.
That's how good the Avs were this year. They're like, fuck it, we're just gonna move a winger to center and see if we can turn him into a top 10 center.
Yeah, imagine the Caps doing that shit with Ovi, where they're just like, all right, he's in the middle now.
Someone during the playoff run, it was a national guy, asked Jared Bednar, he said, if you guys had to move Cale Makar to wing, how many games do you think it would take for him to become a top winger in the league? He goes, 3. I was like, all right, yeah, hell yeah.
I've had people that tweet at me and they're like, hey, it's great that he does this as a defender, but if you moved him forward, he could be even better. And I'm like, yeah, let's definitely make him less valuable by putting him on the wing instead of using that offensive production out of defense. You definitely want an 85-point winger over an 85-point defenseman. Good call.
First pairing defenseman.
Yeah. Kills me, man. It kills me when people suggest this.
All right. So let's. Last year, we're calling Mikko a right wing.
Yeah.
Top 5 right wing in the game?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. Just checking. I know there was a lot of conversation around Mikko last year and how at times you could expect significantly more out of him.
Dude, I was like leading that charge.
For sure.
I would not shut up about it. But at the same time, he's still elite.
Do you want to know the most frustrating part about critiquing Mikko Rantanen? You said that you're like, he's playing awful. He needs to be contributing more. He needs to step up his play. Needs to be more physical with the puck. And he's at like 1.5 points per game. And you're like, well, son of a bitch. Maybe I don't know.
Well, and then if you go and you look at his fancy stats, he has an elite season offensively and defensively. And you're just like...
Well, that was the thing with Mikko, too, is like you would see him pretty regularly in games just turn the jets on and make an incredible back check, and you'd be like, oh, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
And
he looks...
Go ahead. I was just going to say...
he's finally learning to use his size.
See, the thing is, I think he already knew how to use his size, and at times he just decided not to use it this year.
Yeah.
And it's a weird spot because on one side, look, I do think he's incredible. At his best, I think you can make an argument that he's a top 10 player in the league, let alone at wing.
Mm-hmm.
But
at his absolute best, I would take him over Leon Draisaitl.
And the thing is, like, being negative about him is not saying he's not elite. It's saying that despite him being so good, I think there's more to give there.
Yeah.
This is the conundrum with him, is that you watch him play, and to the eyes, you're watching him, and you're like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he does some things, you know? Like, what game was it where he had I think it was Edmonton, game 4, where they had just taken the lead. He had just taken the lead on the power play goal, and then he gets to the blue line with the puck, tries to dance a guy, cuts inside, gets rocked, turns it over, and they score on the other end to tie it. And you're like, bro, just dump it. What are you doing trying to walk guys at the blue line? Like, there are maddening things about his game. And then he just drops greatness on you. He's the Kucherov conversation. He's Kucherov. He's Evgeny Malkin. He's temperamental. He could be a little bit of a bitch at times, but he's otherworldly talented. When he's locked in and at his best, he's absolutely unbelievable. He's one of the best passing players in the league. He has one of the best shots in the league. A one-timer, a backhand, a wrist shot, pick one. He's a top-tier shooter in all of those categories. He does everything. He's the master of the cute little play. He's the master of the easy play. He's great at everything. And then he's big as fuck to go along with it. It's ridiculous. He should be, if he was engaged every single shift of every single game. You know, if he had like a fourth liner's mentality, he would be the best player in the world. He would be so physically dominant if he thought he was Peter Forsberg or Jaromir Jagr. If he played with the power that he was capable of playing with consistently, he would be the best player in the world. He's that talented. And so it drives you crazy when he falls short of that. But the player he ends up being is still a top 5 right wing. No doubt about it. No questions asked. Probably, honestly, top 3. Like, he's unbelievably special. He's on his way to a Hall of Fame career. He is the real deal. He is unbelievable. And the fact that he's like 3rd or 4th banana on this team at times just goes to show you that this team is just stupid.
So a minute ago when I said I think he's starting to use his size better, What I mean by that is like when I watch him defensively, the way he uses his wingspan now and just the way he uses his stick is so active. He gets back, like you said, he breaks up rushes. He can catch guys from behind, which takes me to my second point here. He may have the sneakiest speed in the NHL. He looks like he can't skate, and then he blows by 3 guys. Like you actually see guys get caught sometimes like, oh shit, and he's gone. Like he's got that long stride because he's so freaking big. That
he takes 3 strides.
He just falls over.
He just gets moving, and with as kind of clumsy of a skater as he can be at times, you don't realize that he's moving the way he is.
I think Moose is a really apt nickname for him because sometimes his size is his undoing. There are moments where he appears uncautious and uncoordinated, but we know that he's so highly skilled that this isn't actually true of him. And sometimes he does look like an actual moose on skates, but we just know him to be such a highly skilled player that this can be used to his advantage as well.
Yep.
It's the gif of the moose like running through like knee-high snow.
The snowbank. He just plows through it.
That's
but like seriously, to your point, Megan, like people will post that after he scores a goal or something like that, and that's honestly at times what he looks like, where it's just like you're not going to get in front of him, you're not going to stop him. It doesn't matter what's kind of in his way, what's slowing him down. He's going to get to the net and he's going to make a play.
Yep.
And it's just crazy to watch him when he's going at 100%, to watch someone with all these tools and the size and actually be able to put it together at an elite level. It's unbelievable to watch.
Looks like $3 total from Simba here, who says, by the way, love your show, AJ, is evilly good. I don't know what that means exactly, but
I'll take it. Thank you.
Evilly good.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
So let's
I love the
move
Mr.
over.
Burns excellent gif. It's one of my most used.
Yes. Moving over to the left wing, how many bonus points does Gabe Landeskog get for being captain?
I think he gets bonus points for the leadership, the intangibles, but also he plays both wings and moonlights as a center.
Sure. And I feel like the moonlighting as a center was a little bit less this year. He does take face-offs, but actually playing center, how much of that does he do?
True enough. I think he did it less this year, and that's probably why some of McKinnon's defensive impacts cratered.
For being a winger, he is good on the draw, though.
Yeah, he is, and that's the thing. He's kind of good all around at all those things, and he's the perfect complement next to McKinnon. He might have even shown himself to be more valuable next to McKinnon than Rantanen is, just because of the intangibles, the dirty work, all that stuff that he does, which is why throwing Nichushkin and Landeskog next to McKinnon produced the kind of results that it did. And again, bonus points for Landeskog for being able to switch sides kind of on at the drop of a hat, where he just that's he just does it all for them.
Jeff Merrick, who I absolutely love, he's
great. He's great.
His work's great. He talks a lot about Gabe Landeskog. He says all the time that Gabe Landeskog is his favorite player in the NHL.
Yeah.
And he talked about him obviously a lot, with the Stanley Cup final and all that. And he made a point that watching the team every day, I didn't really connect these dots in my head. But just as, he was saying it as this is how good and how kind of underappreciated Gabe Landeskog is. He was telling, I think it was some guest on his show. He said, watch what Jared Bednar does with Gabe Landeskog. Any line that needs a jolt, any line that needs a boost, any line that needs a little bit of help, he sticks Gabe Landeskog on the line. And he mentioned, he just kept kind of bringing it up throughout the playoffs. And he mentioned Game 6, Stanley Cup Final. Gabe Landeskog is playing next to Nazem Kadri and Val Nichushkin, both guys who are hurt, and they have a really good game. Like Gabe Landeskog, and it's taken me even a long time, maybe even this playoff run, to really appreciate what all Gabe Landeskog does for this team on the ice and off. I mean, like you hear the way some of these guys talk. You ask them about Gabe Landeskog and just the way they talk about his leadership and the way he communicates with the team. Joe Sakic has talked about, I consult Gabe Landeskog with everything because he has a pulse on this locker room in a way that nobody else does. Gabe Landeskog had a really long road to getting here. I think he was maybe given some responsibility too early, some big responsibility too early in his career, but he's grown into it so well that I don't necessarily know. It's part of, for me, what makes it hard to rank him because he just kind of gets so many, like you said, bonus points for doing so many not super obvious things that, I mean, honestly, had he left last summer in free agency, I don't think the Avs win the Cup. And I think you're probably looking at somewhat of a retool here. I think he's that big of a piece.
On top of all this other stuff we're talking about, over the last 3 years, 155 points in 159 games. Puts him right next to guys like Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, Phil Forsberg, guys like that. Guys that you would think of if you said, oh, which guy would you rather start your team with? You might have those guys higher on your list. Because you don't think of, we don't really, because of the offensive talent around, we don't, I think Landeskog's offensive prowess gets overlooked and taken for granted. He's also stepped it up in a huge way over the last few years. His production has blown up, and
well over a point per game this year.
Yeah, and you see over the last couple, like he had settled most of his career. He was 50, 60 points, and you're good. Since the 16-17 disaster, nails. The guy's been lights out. All the other things about his game, all the the willing. You want to talk about setting a tone. The guy went out at the start of this year and said, we're not taking any shit from anybody. Fought anybody that tried to push the Avs around. Basically went out of his way to try and bury any kind of notion that the Avalanche were going to be bullied ever again. That was a thing that teams could do to them. And it never worked. All year long. Anytime somebody tried to bully the Avs, they buried those fuckers. They buried them. And I think that was because Landeskog said, we're done. We're done. We're done taking this. We're done being a team with this reputation. If it turns out that people turn around and call us dirty, cool. We'll live with that. But we're done having other teams treat us this way. And they did. They anytime somebody tried to step to them, that was like the whole hope and dreams of the Nashville Predators. Oh, we're going to go out and we're going to bully them. We're going to hit them a lot. We're going to play really physical. It turns out that didn't do shit.
Well, it was last year's first round against St. Louis for me, in kind of this light that you're talking about, AJ, where he goes out and beats up Braden Shen in game one, like straight beats him up, like he would have gotten in trouble for that in school, and Braden Shen wouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like, and then game two on the first shift puts Ryan O'Reilly through the end wall, takes the puck and sets up a play to get the game started, get a goal on the board, get the building into it. And it was exactly what you're saying, AJ. Like, it was the same thing for the Blues last year. Oh, they're going to go out and get physical. The Avs might struggle because the Blues are going to intimidate them a bit. And Gabe Landeskog was just like, nah, nope, other way around.
So all of this praise for Landy, and it's well-deserved. Don't know if he's a top 5 left wing in the league.
Closer to 10 than 5, but top 10.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And look, competition is stiff there.
It's really strong position.
Huberdeau, Gaudreau, Brizov, Kachuk.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, what makes it hard to rank Landy is that he does so many of the other things that those players don't, but you can't measure that stuff, so you don't really get to rank it.
Well, it's so hard, right? And this is a conversation that's true of Val Nichushkin as well. wingers just don't get consideration for things like the Selke.
Yeah, I mean, look how hard it was for Mark Stone to like push his way into that.
Yep.
He had to be like elite defensively for several years before voters were like, well, Mark Stone, Mark Stone. Mark Stone. Like it was a lot. Like it took a lot, and you know, I don't think Nuke or Landy will ever quite get there, but their defensive contributions are obviously really important on the whole.
We've talked about recency too shaping some of this list, and something that places Landeskog at least in this top 10 left-wing conversation is the longevity of how long he's been doing this, and the fact that he drops a career year at 29, so we don't even know what his ceiling is exactly, that he could continue doing this for a longer time. Some of those other names are in a much younger stage of their career. It remains to be seen. It's kind of a credit to Landeskog that this could just continue to get better for him.
Yeah.
When you do wonder, like when the decline hits, like how slow is it? Because if it's a nice slow decline in this contract that he's on, ages nicely, then the Avs are seriously competing for a cup probably the entire time. That whole contract, which a year ago was maybe the one thing that we all were like, when he signed it, it was like 8 years, a long time, man. This is just a long time.
Felt scary.
Yeah, like because
paid off real quick.
We're watching the back end of Erik Johnson on this contract. And, like, this is the fear, right? Is that it's not that he can't play anymore. It's just that he's triple the amount that what he probably should be making, right? Like, that you're looking at it and you're like, oh, my God, if I had an extra $4 million or whatever. So, that's the question, I think, is how is it going to age? But for right now, he's league-wide probably underrated.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's fair. Very quickly, I don't think we'll have anything to say other than TBD. Goaltending position for the Avs, Georgiev, pretty hard to rank right now.
I wouldn't put him higher than 25.
And that's fair.
I think if you're ranking backups, they have number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So which guy is it?
That's where I got you. They have 1 and 2.
Do 2 backups make a starter? I don't know.
We'll find out.
We have a whole postseason to figure out.
Did for Dallas last year until Jake Ottinger showed up.
Oh my gosh, Jake Ottinger was so good, dude.
Poor Ottinger.
So he's going to be the one that I'm going to watch super closely this year, because everyone started anointing Carter Hart the next 20 Vezinas after his first year, and he's been shit ever since.
Oh, I don't know how fair that is, but okay.
No,
I mean,
that series against Calgary, Jake Ottinger really, really reminded me of prime John Gibson. And I know Ottinger's a little bit bigger, but
John Gibson was so dope. I feel so bad for that dude.
Was
such bad teams.
Was so dope.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Okay, before I dunk on
I still like John Gibson. Or do you not like John Gibson?
Best World Juniors that I've ever watched. That was so fun.
I don't know how to feel about John Gibson.
I believe you have really cool pads at the WJCs too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's important.
All-American goal is just put giant bald eagles for pads. That's it. That's all you got to do. Don't Stars and Stripes played out. Give me bald eagles.
I want glitter in the pads, like actual stars.
I'm here for it.
His stuff was all right.
You need that maybe for the Olympics, a guy can do that, because those goalies make actual money instead of these kids in college and shit who can't afford that.
I do want to move into our final thoughts here. We can start with Meghan. On any player rankings, do they even matter?
No.
Does the whole show that we just did matter?
They matter to us, but like to the players and the trajectory of their career, it definitely doesn't matter because anything could happen. Anybody could impress us in an unsuspecting way, and injuries are a thing that happens too.
That's the one great wild card in all of this, right? Erik Karlsson went from the best defenseman in the world to some guy because of an injury. At any point in time, we had the conversation earlier in the show. It's like there could be 4 Hall of Famers on this team. Could also be 0 if they have injury trouble through the rest of their careers. Like, it's just reality.
I don't know, if Cale Makar got into a car accident tomorrow, blew out his knee, and couldn't play ever again, wouldn't you at least consider it?
I don't think you can say he's done enough. Like, maybe he could, like, he might get in if he like actually dies.
Jesus.
I'm gonna.
Well, this show took an insane turn.
Well, the NHL has always been a little bit more generous. And like, this is just reality. I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
I think we need to
Well, I'm just saying, like I mentioned Terrell Davis earlier.
Yeah.
Like you could make the argument that like the longevity may not have been there, but like the tip top, right?
I mean,
anyway, it doesn't matter. He's fine.
That mark for me is Peter Forsberg, and I don't think Makar's at that level yet.
Yeah, I mean Forsberg and Bure, like those guys did not play a lot of games in the NHL. Yeah. Pavel Bure only played 700 games. That guy got in.
I grew up as a young kid watching Peter Forsberg, and I still when I see highlights of him, am like blown away and regain my appreciation for just how good Peter Forsberg was. I think it was his birthday last week or whatever, and the NHL put out that like top 10.
It's legit go back and watch Peter Forsberg highlights like every 2 weeks, just to feel alive again.
His retirement video that the Avs did, like his jersey retirement video, that was one of my like most watched
all time.
Yeah, for a long time. That, and then Adam Foote's, just because I grew up playing defense, and Adam Foote's jersey retirement video is a ton of like great defensive plays because he wasn't a huge point producer. And so his retirement video is just great defensive play after great defensive play. Nice to just sit at home on the family computer getting all stoked on Adam Foote defensive play highlights. Like, oh God, that's an active stick. Fuck yeah. I mean, wow, look at that gap control. Woo! Oh man, what a read. Played that 2-on-1 perfectly.
Watch the last shift of his career against the Oilers.
Yeah. 7 penalties.
Yeah, where he gets away with holding and then holding and then he knocks that guy's stick like 70 feet into the air.
Yeah.
For that.
I was in the arena and I watched that stick fly and I was like, that thing gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Well, and it was just because I remember being in the arena and everyone was cheering and kind of looking at the clock, and everyone knew, like, damn, this is it. This is it. And good on the refs, like, he should have been
between the 2 worst teams in the NHL.
Right.
Who gives a shit? I saw Oilers fans who were actually upset about it, and it was like, who gives a shit about this, dude?
Right.
They had already secured draft position. Like, the Oilers had already secured the top pick. The Avs had already secured the second pick. Like, it was fine. What's the problem here? Just let them go. And they did, and it was great. And then the Avs won that game in overtime, which was also fun.
Yep.
And then the Avs drafted Landing, which was also fun.
Which brings us full circle.
Here we are. We good? Anyone else want to touch on anything? No. All right.
I would say a big year from Nichushkin puts him in the conversation for the top 15 winger rankings in a year.
Right around 15, yeah, sure.
I am really curious what kind of year Arturi Lehkonen has and Bowen Byram has to push themselves into these conversations next year. I would love to see Sam Girard get back into
top 20, kind of.
Yeah, the top 20 instead of being like top 40, being like top 20, top 30.
A lot of interesting stuff to come next season, which is, only like 2 months away, incredibly. It comes at you fast. We're going to get out of here for the day, though. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. I'm sure you're mad about something, so you can tweet our rankings, your rankings, rather, at us, DNVR_Avalanche, and tell us how wrong we are. Go in there. Let us know. We're out of here for
the day. Leave that comment.
We will be back tomorrow. I don't know. Are we doing Q&A tomorrow or like Thursday or Friday? I don't know. We'll see. We'll do a Q&A sometime this week.
Officially off season.
Yeah, we'll see. Have your questions
show up
ready.
And listen, and we'll talk about something.
And we'll talk to you later.